All right. Well, hello, everybody. I'm going to give everybody just a few seconds to get in here and kind of log in and start to see people come into the forum here and just really excited about this thing today. But we'll let everybody kind of log in and before we get started, I'll probably give everybody about 30 more seconds to kind of get here. I'm starting to see more participants kind of log in and join us today. Just really excited about this thing and kicking this thing off. This is just a really unique event and excited to bring this information to you all. So I see you guys kind of logging in and I'll go through the directions a couple of times as people get here. But if you guys have any technical questions or having audio issues or anything like that, you can please put your questions in the chat feature. It is over, wait, it's that way. It's on that side over there on my computer. Put all your technical questions over there, and Dave and Jillian on the back end will answer those. Also, another fun thing that we like to do with these things is if you can put in the chat where you're watching from. That's awful fun too. We love to see where you guys are reaching out from. Just for those of y'all that don't know me, my name is Glenn Hadley. I'm the Senior Vice President of Strategy here at Dreamscape. I'm going to be your host today. And we're just really glad to have this forum and kick things off. Once again, all technical questions will go in the chat over there. If you have questions for the speakers throughout the day today, you can put them in the Q&A. That is at the bottom down there on my screen. And we'll try to get to them. I'll tell you this, we have so much information today and we are jam-packed throughout the day with solutions that we're probably not going to be able to reach to do too many questions at the end of this. Let's see, Rob has said chat is disabled. So Dave and Jillian, can you take a look and see if we can enable the chat feature? Because we would absolutely love to see where you're watching from and put any other questions in that you may have for the back end of this thing over there. All right, let's see. We got a few people in here today. Thank you for that, Rob. I appreciate it. Rob's a good partner from Site Staff Chat and has joined us this morning. We're glad to have everybody here. So anyway, just we'll go ahead and kick things off. Once again, my name is Glenn Hadley. I'm the Senior Vice President of Strategy here at Dreamscape Marketing. We're excited to be a part of this event and put this thing on. I'll be your host today. And once again, any questions for the speakers, you can put them in the Q&A section. And any questions as far as tech support goes, you can put those over in the chat over there. Also, I really encourage people to use the chat to ask questions of other attendees. That's been a lot of fun. Whenever we first started this deal a few years back, I was putting on events in behavioral healthcare, and whenever COVID hit, we had to make a pivot and really switch, and we didn't know what this virtual world was all about, and so I actually pivoted and put an in-person conference, switched it over to virtual, and we were the first group to host an online virtual conference during COVID, and we had 10,000 people join from all over the world. It was amazing. And one of the things that came out of that is we saw this exchange of ideas, whereas we were chatting with people that were all across the globe over there. And like even in the Philippines, they were messaging us in, and we had this tremendous exchange of information, and it really has ushered in a new wave. And so we're really glad to be here and be a part of this. And I just encourage you all to use this forum to exchange ideas. Another thing that we find with this is that the ability for this information to continue on and be enduring. And so if you know partners or other doctors that are out there that would really benefit from this information, we encourage you to share this. We're gonna, all of this is recorded. We'll have this on our YouTube channel shortly after, but we encourage you to share this information, rewatch it. It's gonna be fast paced. We have so many speakers and so many solutions today. It's gonna be pretty fast paced. So we encourage you to rewatch this and share this and get this out to the people that would really benefit from this information. All right, so just want to say, go over some ground rules before I turn it over to Brian. This is going to be a rapid fire day. We have, it looks like 8 different sessions. It's going to be very fast paced. If you don't get all the information, that's fine. Once again, it's recorded. You'll be able to go back and rewatch it. And I encourage you to reach out to the speakers directly with questions. Okay, like one of the things about this panel and this group of speakers is that they're really open to sharing all of this information for you all. So please reach out to them. Let's see if you have any questions. Let's see, I already went over that. So our goal for this event is normally at a conference. One of the challenges that operators run into or doctors run into is that it's very difficult to weed through the sales process in order to get to the solution. And oftentimes I've seen people that are desperately in need of solutions kind of be reserved and come back from asking because of the challenge in the sales process. So this is all solution focused. We are trying to bring a group of solution focused providers to the table where you don't have to worry about talking to different folks and wondering who you're talking to around that. You're actually talking to the leaders of each of these organizations, and they're bringing those solutions. So we're really excited about that, to be solution focused. And so to kick things off today, I do want to introduce, we have Brian Colao. He's going to be doing our keynote address today. And we're really pumped about having him here and being a part of this. Brian is the director of Dykema's Dental Service Organizations Group. He has been serving the dental industry for over 25 years and is widely regarded as one of the foremost authorities in the United States on DSO formation, DSO business structures, DSO related mergers and acquisitions, and a full array of regulatory compliance requirements for DSO. Also, Brian was named a 2019 DSO Influencer by Group Dentistry Now. So with that, I'll turn it over to Brian. Thank you so much for being a part of this event.
Well, good morning, and thank you very much, Glenn, for that nice introduction. I want to welcome everybody to the Dreamscape Marketing's DSO Business Forum. It's really a privilege and a pleasure for me to be part of such a solution-oriented event. I want to thank Dreamscape Marketing for making this possible. You know, when I think about the relationship we've had with Dreamscape Marketing, I think of a couple things. I think of really deep knowledge of the dental industry. I think of transparency, and I think of integrity. And those are three really important things that you really need if you're going to do marketing in this space. A lot of people spend a lot of marketing dollars. They waste a lot of money. The things that I look for and the things that are most beneficial: transparency, integrity, knowledge of the space. And Dreamscape served our clients very, very well over the years. So I want to thank them for making this, forum available. I have been in the space for 27 years, and I will say this: other than the financial collapse of 2006, 7, and 8, there's not been a more influx sort of uncertain time than we're seeing right now. I mean, we definitely had this. I wouldn't say it's unprecedented. This was definitely the way it was in 2006, 2007, 2008. But since that time, things have been reasonably stable. We've had a great evolution and consolidation going on. And I think if I gave a speech, 1 month, 3 months out, 6 months out, 1 year out, what I said would be very, very similar. It would be relatively stable. Now, though, things are changing almost on a daily basis. And we're going to talk about the state of the industry this morning as it is right now. Okay, if you've heard me speak 6 months ago or a year ago, things are a little different now. I mean, this is going to be a little different presentation than some of the other ones, I've done, or some of the other presentations other people, other industry leaders have done, say 6 months, a year ago. This morning, the Fed raised interest rates again, 0.75 points. I mean, these are very uncertain times. But before we get in to how we navigate this climate and where we are, I think we should do a recap, sort of. I've been in the space 27 years. I've seen everything from the very inception of the DSO industry. And to sort of recap sort of how we began and how we got to this point, there was a great evolution and consolidation of the dental industry. It began 2008, 9, 10. It might have been going on much slower before then, but it really picked up 2008, 9, 10 in the wake or the end of the great financial collapse due to the subprime mortgage crisis. Dentistry has proven itself to be virtually recession-proof. It has subsequently proven itself to be virtually pandemic proof. Private equity groups suddenly took an interest in the dental space because it was outperforming all the other sectors of the economy. And because of that, the great evolution and consolidation was born out of that environment, because the only way for non-dentists to participate in the dental industry is through a DSO structure. And this consolidation began 2009, 2010. It really picked up steam 2016, 17, 18, 19. We were on a record pace. 2019 was a record year. 2020, the first month or two, it was on pace for a record year. And then the unthinkable sort of happened. We had a great lockdown. This was the only time in the history of civilization that I know of that the government told people they couldn't go to the dentist. I mean, we'd never seen anything like that ever. Then just, within a few months of the great lockdown, we had a great reopening, at least in dental offices. As everybody knows, some other parts of society, hospitality, travel, other things were really hurt for extended periods of time. But at least in the dental industry, we had a great reopening within a series of months after, by the end of the summer. And just like it was shut down on an unprecedented scale, it was reopened on an unprecedented scale. And, it was uneven. Certain areas dramatically improved, certain areas really lagged and were slow. And this was regional in nature, depending on the local government's response to the pandemic. And it was a really difficult and uneven reopening. Then we had the Great Recovery, and this was also uneven. Certain practices thrived to the point that they did better than they did pre-COVID. Others, it took them a couple years before they started to return to where they were pre-COVID. Then some really unpredictable things started to happen, because I think everybody said, okay, we had this pandemic, we locked things down, we opened it back up. Now we're going to recover and it's going to be, we're just going to get on with life, is what people sort of thought. But that's not what happened. We had this great resignation and nobody saw that coming. And I think it was an unforeseen consequence of a lot of the aid packages that were available as a result of COVID. You want to give people supplemental unemployment benefits. You want to give all these government subsidies. Nobody really thought that it would actually incentivize people not to come back to work. And then they thought, and here's where some other uncertain stuff happened. They said, okay, we'll discontinue some of these programs and then everybody will come back to work. But they discontinued the programs and everybody didn't come back to work. And it's really been, the cost of labor is the highest than it's ever been in 20, 25 years as a result of some of that. And now we find ourselves in the great inflation where, we are at a historical 25-year high with inflation. It has not really hit its peak yet. It may be at its peak, but we've had now successive 0.75 increases in interest rates, and this is territory that we've not been in since the 70s or the 90s. With some of it, they're trying to say it may not be as bad as the 70s. Maybe the early 1990s are a better example, but this is once in a 25-year cycle, and it has led to finally the great uncertainty. And the reason it is the price of labor is the highest that it's ever been. Cost of goods are going up and the cost of money are going up. And those are three really unfavorable conditions, even for an industry as strong as dentistry that has historically been virtually recession-proof. These are not good developments. The entire industry, for anybody that's heard me talk, the value of the DSO industry, or even a solo practice or a group practice, is an EBITDA, earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, amortization. It is the gold standard for valuing organizations. And when you sell an organization, and everybody knows there's been a crazy M&A environment, a white hot M&A environment the last several years, even during 2020 and 21, these practices were shut down. The M&A market stopped for just a couple months, then it heated up and was crazy for the back half of 2020, and 2021 was a record year. This whole M&A market is driven by multiples of EBITDA. You figure out what your EBITDA is. If your EBITDA is $1 million and you get a 8 multiple, you get $8 million at closing. But the problem with everything that's going on right now is you're getting hit at both ends. The EBITDA is going down, meaning the profitability of the practice, because the cost of labor is up, the cost of goods and supplies are up due to inflation. So you have less of a profit margin. So your EBITDA number is lower. And then unfortunately, the interest rates are up. So the buying power, the cost of money is higher. So the buyers can buy less with the money that they have. So that equals a lower multiple. So you end up with a lower EBITDA number and a lower multiple on that EBITDA. So it's very, the M&A markets are, they're going to still go on and they're doing okay, but the absolute record breakneck pace that they were at is being blunted and slowed down. And the reason this is important, because it brings us to sort of this event here and what we're talking about. Historically, last 10 years, the way you grew the EBITDA of your organization is you acquired other offices. If you had 1 million of EBITDA, you'd acquire an office with $500,000. Now you had 1.5 million in EBITDA. A pretty simple concept. You would just buy up as many things as you could, and that would increase your EBITDA. Now, unfortunately, with the cost of money going up, the reduced buying power, you're going to see less ability. It's not going to be over with, but it's not going to be as easy as it was to simply buy your way to increased EBITDA. So that leaves same store growth. And that's a big focus of this event here today. I'm not going to say it was ignored, but it wasn't prioritized, because as long as organizations historically could just buy other practices and grow their EBITDA through acquisitions, they didn't have to make an intense focus on same store growth and sales. Well, now I think that's going to become critical, because many organizations out there, maybe if their goal was to buy 20 offices this year, they're only going to be able to buy 10 offices. Or if your goal was to buy 10, maybe you only buy 5 if you're a smaller organization. Or if your goal was to buy 2, you're only going to buy 1, depending on the size. So you're not going to be able to grow your EBITDA as quickly through acquisitions. So you've got to figure out how to grow your EBITDA through same store growth. And there are a lot of really innovative things out there, a lot of which you're going to hear today during this wonderful event. Others are out there, and I want to talk about, some of them, because the technology that exists today can really make a significant and material impact on same store growth and on your EBITDA. There's obviously multiple ways to grow your organization beyond mergers and acquisitions. So the first thing that I think is just incredible, and I know my good friend Amal Nergardkar is going to speak later today, is artificial intelligence. There's some really incredible AI technology out there, and it can help you with patient acquisitions, patient retention, patient, even on the billing and collecting side, and analysis of data. This AI that exists out there right now, it can listen to phone calls. It can analyze why patients are not closing. You may have a wonderful marketing program out there and you're flooded with phone calls, but patients aren't signing up for treatment. And you're sort of wondering, why is this happening? Why did I get 100 new calls this month? And, we only signed up 5 patients. How do we get 20, 30, 40 out of the 100 patients signed up? This AI will help you do that. It will tell you, are your prices too high? Are your sales staff not doing what they're supposed to, not providing enough education and information to the patients? Do you need a more targeted, marketing plan? There's a whole bunch of things that if you use AI appropriately, AI by itself won't increase your revenue. You can't just say, hey, let's plug in this AI, but it will give you the data that you need to analyze where the pain points are and why you're not retaining patients or why you're not signing up enough patients. And it's really, really, really fascinating technology. Amal's going to talk more about this today. I love his company, Patient Prism, but I just think this is very fascinating technology. And if you're not utilizing it, you really have to get educated on AI. The other way AI can help you is through, diagnosis. There's a lot of studies that have demonstrated really irrefutably that artificial intelligence, if it's reviewing x-rays and other diagnostic tools, it catches disease at a much higher rate than the naked eye or dentists or anybody else. And it's an opportunity, one, to accurately diagnose the patient, and it's a fact that it does lead to more treatments that might not have been caught, and that can increase your revenue. And one word on AI, particularly in the diagnostic context, you got to have your FDA approvals. Okay, I've been an attorney 27 years. This stuff is regulated by the FDA. The FDA requires clearances of these things. The AI companies are not all equal out there, and you got to do your diligence, and you got to make sure any AI company you're conducting business with has their proper FDA clearances. But utilized as a diagnostic tool, it's an absolute terrific way of potentially, one, giving more accurate diagnoses, two, ultimately increasing your revenue if you're catching more procedures and more things. Then there's technologies out there. I know Dr. Ryan Hungate's going to talk today, and he's got a great organization called Simplify, and it's now providing the ability to contact your office 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The generation out there, is just not comfortable with the traditional, 9 to 5 hours of dental offices. A lot of my clients and a lot of dental offices said, fine, we're not 9 to 5, we're 7 to 7 and weekends. And I think that's incredible. And they've done some really terrific things going 7 to 7 and weekends, or 9 to 9 or something like that, and weekends. But even that doesn't get the job done. Some of this generation, they want to talk to people at 2 or 3 in the morning or 4 in the morning, and they want to make appointments, and they want this stuff available 24 hours a day. And there's some terrific technology out there that will let you do that and let you reach your patients and contact them and make appointments, in the middle of the night and all these uncommon hours. And that's a really important tool to increase your revenue. So there are also some big data companies out there. There's one that I really like called DM Score. It works in tandem with companies like Dreamscape. It's a big data company. It will let you sort of analyze how you're doing in a particular market. And if you're not, with respect to your competitors, it'll give you sort of a score and a ranking. And if you're not doing as well as your competitors, you got to get somebody like Dreamscape on the phone, and you got to figure out, hey, how do we, improve our visibility? And it's all about AI and big data and the analysis of it. Something else that's critical in this marketplace is RCM, revenue cycle management. I know for a fact that certain, really well-known DSOs have gotten in trouble, their management team, over RCM issues. If the time to collect is too long, it's something that really materially impacts your EBITDA. And there are companies out there. Zentis, for example, is one I've worked really successfully with, that they'll be able to look at your RCM, and they'll be able, for less cost than it costs you to do it, maximize 100% of your insurance dollars, and then at the same time lower your cycle, so you're collecting it much quicker. So it's cheaper, it collects much quicker, and you maximize your dollars. These are really critical technologies out there that can significantly impact your same store growth. Then you've got companies out there that focus on equipment maintenance. They're subscription based. If you look at these, and by the way, you got to do your diligence on all this stuff and see what's right for you. You may not want to sign up for all this stuff, but all of these things are tools that fascinate me and really can impact same store growth. There are subscription based platforms out there that will tell you the frequency in which you need to inspect and maintain your equipment, because the studies show that if your equipment fails and you can't utilize certain chairs, on certain amount of time a year, you lose productivity. I'm fascinated by that technology. I'm fascinated also by the technology out there that will help you efficiently order your supplies in the most efficient way, so you're not bloated in revenue or you're not having a revenue shortage. That stuff fascinates me. Something else, I know my friend Suji is going to speak today about scents in dentistry, and this is not anything I ever focused on. I've gotten educated on it, though. How your practice smells, by the way, will impact whether patients come back or want to come to your office to begin with. There's lots of studies in healthcare and hospitality that say that. So something that, maybe could be overlooked from time to time, how your practice smells can make a critical difference. And there's actually going to be a presentation on that today. There's also going to be presentations on various platforms that will look at your practice, and they will, at your fingertips, provide KPIs to you, key performance indicators that will tell you on a whole host of things, and you can customize it to your organization, how you're doing. Again, utilizing these things doesn't in and of itself increase your revenue, but if you drill down, it can cut to the heart of the matter, and it can tell you precisely why you're not closing patients or why you're experiencing certain operational challenges. So I think that I'm fascinated by the KPIs and all of these practice management softwares that'll be able to analyze this stuff. Then we've got a couple other things that I think are critical. They're not really they're old timeless things. They're not really products of new technology, but they're absolutely critical. The first one is attracting and retaining talent. Given the great resignation, if you can attract and retain talent in this marketplace, you're going to be able to expand. If you can't attract and retain talent, you won't. It doesn't matter how much money you have or how big, how smart a business plan. Only dentists can practice dentistry. They won't let computers treat patients yet. So the reality is, if you can't hire dentists or hygienists or other personnel, you're not going to be able to expand. So attracting and retaining talent will be critical to same store growth here. I've got lots of clients, and it's always a shame where their phone's ringing off the hook, but they don't have enough dentists, or they don't have enough hygienists, or they don't have enough staff to schedule the patients. You always hate to see that when it happens, and it's a reality of this marketplace right now. So attracting and retaining talent is a timeless thing. It's not a new technological advancement, but it's going to be critical. And the last thing I would touch on is culture. Culture is going to absolutely be critical. If people like your organization and they like working there and they're passionate about it, the patients figure that out pretty quickly, and people are going to want to come to your organization. I mean, a whole bunch of good things happen. One, you lose people a lot less. Okay. If you have a very poor culture, you're going to hemorrhage employees and they're going to leave. If you've got a great culture, people are still going to resign from time to time and leave, but mostly you're going to have the lowest amount of attrition possible. So you're not going to have to spend your time replacing people. That's critical. And then two, it directly translates to the patient experience. If people are happy to be at work, then patients are going to really like coming to your office, and they're going to tell your friends. And these things are absolutely critical to same store growth and expansion in this very uncertain time that we find ourselves in. And I think everybody needs to evaluate their culture. They need to take a look at it and figure out what changes, or tweaks need to be done. I read an interesting thing this morning on LinkedIn. It said, clients aren't the most important, your employees are the most important, because if you keep your employees and your employees are happy, then the clients will be happy. And I think I mostly believe that. You have to take your clients, or in the case of dental offices, patients, really, really, really seriously. But I do think I mostly believe you got to invest in your staff, and you've got to have a good culture, and then the patient experience will take care of itself largely after that. But these are the things, many of these that you're going to hear about today, and they're very, very solution oriented from the group of speakers, and I'm really excited. So where do we go sort of from here? I'm going to, last couple minutes, I'm going to say things are going to be uncertain for at least the next 6 months. Given what I saw just today, they were hoping they would get a good read on inflation, and it had capped out. It doesn't look like it did. They raised the interest rates 0.75% for the second quarter in a row. I think most definitely we're either in a recession or going to be, in some type of recession. That's going to probably lead to slightly less demand for discretionary spending, in dentistry. Unemployment ticked up today. I think some people are still holding out hope. Maybe some of this is temporary, and maybe they can get this, back on track in the next 3 months. I think it may be a longer ride. It may be 6 months to a year of this uncertainty. And I think the keys are dentistry strong. It always has been. It will be strong during this downturn, but same store growth is going to be probably at the forefront, even, for the first time in the last 10 years. I think same store growth may be prioritized ahead of M&A in a lot of organizations. They're going to say, look, we don't have the ability to acquire everything we wanted to acquire. And some of the sellers are holding off on transactions until the economic conditions improve. They don't want to sell their organizations for less than what they think a fair value is. So we're going to be here working on same store growth. And a lot of the presenters today, and even the ones that are not here that I talked about, and if anybody needs help with any of these technologies, obviously, you can reach out to me or my team or whoever. We can get you in touch with some of these tremendous innovations we talked about. But I think the focus, okay, for the next, is one, there's an uncertainty. How long is it going to last? Is it going to be 3 months, 6 months, or a year? These things don't last forever. I wrote an article recently in Group Dentistry Now. The average, recession takes about, I think, 14 months. So, these things don't last terribly long, even in the worst case, scenario. But is it going to be a 3 month, 6 month, year, 14-month, 18-month thing? That's the first question. And the second question is, you got to take a long, hard look at your organization and say, what can you do to increase same store growth? And even if you're still blessed and can do all the acquisitions you want to do this year, it's still a great idea to look at same store growth, because you can double dip. If you raise your EBITDA through acquisitions and then also raise it through same store growth, your organization is going to be in tremendous position to maximize its value. So what I think the outlook, for the next at least year is going to be the consolidation and evolution is going to continue. It may continue at a slightly smaller pace until we get out of these uncertain times and the lending environment gets a little better. But, make no mistake about it, the market penetration's around 32, 33% of DSOs. In 10 years, it's going to be 80%. So that's definitely going to happen. But in this, this period here of the next year, I think there's going to be a focus on same store growth, a focus on innovations, a focus on technology, and figuring out how to increase EBITDA in ways apart from traditional M&A activities. But I hope everybody enjoys the program today. It's a great event. It's solution oriented. It was my honor to come here and at least open it up for everybody. And I wish everybody well over the next year. I guess I'm going to say, somebody asked me, or Glenn, you were asking me, I don't know if you're going to ask me now, where I'm going to be, but, I know we're short on time here. If anybody wants to catch up with me, I'm kind of cutting Glenn off here, but I know he's got a real busy program today. If anybody wants to catch up with me, I'm going to be at the DEO next week in Chicago. I'm going to be in Nashville, Tennessee at the DSO Tech Summit, the DSO Leadership Summit. I'm going to be down in San Antonio at the Breakaway Seminar a little later in October. So I hope to see some folks in person. This is a great thing, Glenn, this virtual event, but I love seeing people in person, and I hope to see people in person in the next several weeks.
Right, I really appreciate that, because that's exactly what I was going to ask you, is where people can connect, because this is supposed to be the beginning of the conversation, right? And the start of this solution focus. And so being able to start the conversation here and then connect face to face, I think is extremely important. I do appreciate the overall view, because it wasn't that long ago that we weren't having these kinds of discussions and conversations. And now the maturation, so to say, of people really digging into lead attribution, really incorporating technology into their practices. It is so important, and it's been kind of pushed by circumstances outside of our control into this, but the patient benefits from all of this. I think that's the main thing, is the more sophisticated we all are in our business practices, the more the patient does benefit it. And then when you were talking about staff attraction and retention, I've had some very interesting challenges recently due to that, where some of the different operators in our space have asked us to change the focus of our marketing efforts and slow down the patient acquisition piece and move towards staff attraction, retention, culture building. We're doing campaigns for that because it's become so important. They've had a difficult time servicing their patients because of the lack of staffing. It's tremendous. Never would I've thought that we would be pivoting in that direction, and we are. So I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming on and being a part of this. I hope everybody reaches out and goes to see Brian at his upcoming events. And parting thoughts before we break, before Marnie comes on. Anything for any last words?
Well, one other thing that I missed just for 30 seconds is patient finance. It's so important that even though I know we're wrapping up, I just want 30 seconds on this. Patient finance is going to be critical in this environment because as the belts tighten, and as budgets get slashed, household budgets get slashed, some patients are going to lack. They're going to need treatment, but they're going to lack the ability to pay for this. And there's some really innovative stuff. Like I love what iCreditWorks is doing. We don't have a lot of time, but there's some really innovative stuff out there, and patient finance is going to be the key to being able to secure patients as the ability to pay becomes even more of an issue than it is now. And I know we got to wrap up, but I can't believe I missed that when I went through everything else, but it's going to be really, really critical today. So that would be sort of my final word on this, Glenn.
Right on. Well, I appreciate that. I'm going to throw this up there for everybody. If you'd like to reach out and get in touch with Brian or anybody, any other speaker, this is our contact information. We can bridge that gap and make that possible. So with that, what I'm going to say is that we have our next speaker is Marnie Blights. He's going to be coming up in about 10 minutes. And so what I would say is get a cup of coffee and come back and hang out with us. And we look forward to having a wonderful day. So thank you guys so much, Brian. Thanks again. And we'll see y'all in the next session.
Thank you.